This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
The Idis is part of the UE fleet. So you got the Idis, you got the Javelin, and obviously you got the Bengal. So they're the big boys, the big guns as we called them. The original kind of idea and concept came from a collaboration with Chris and Ryan Church at the time. It started off as a much kind of smaller ship to what it is now. You can look back on the internet actually and find the original kind of concepts for that ship. It's small.
What we initially did was we set it up as a small ship basically. So we followed all the guides for small ships. So like it's divided into chunks: body, nose, left wing, right wing. We put all the hard points on it just to make sure it could function like that. And then we started working towards setting up the interior. So we tried to get all the interior objects inside it. But then that's where we started encountering some of the initial like early technical limitations, where loading the Idis was taking ages. We were using, they weren't object containers, they were something else, I've forgotten the name of them completely now. But like what was happening is they were trying to load and they were loading just piles and piles of files that they really shouldn't have been doing, which was slowing everything down. So we had Steve Humphreys, one of our coders, he spent a while and he set up creating these object containers, which we could just compile a bunch of these items into like a chunk of the ship and then export that. And the Idis was the first ship we tried that on. And we had to experiment with like, how do we divide the ship up? And we eventually, like after a few months, we settled on something that seemed to work quite well. And it's just kind of getting this kind of iterative process for all the new systems that are going in. And yeah, object containers is kind of like, it's one of the biggest that it happened with, but there's loads more going on in there.
So pretty much every bit of new tech that's come into the ship pipeline or like volumetric fog or anything like that has gone into the Idis first. It's been like the test ground for every other ship. It's the biggest ship and it's like the main hub in Squadron 42. So we want to get that right to set the standards for all other capital ships.
It plays an integral kind of role in Squadron. It's pretty much your home that you kind of go back to an awful lot. So it needed to facilitate a lot more kind of, a lot more of the script, a lot more gameplay. So over time it kind of grew. It was one of our obviously highest priorities. So we had to work out from pretty much the inside out, like the layout of the ship from scratch to facilitate not only kind of decent gameplay, decent gunplay, balancing the gameplay as well from a PU perspective, but also facilitating all the things that are required in the script. And that's really cool actually, because it kind of feeds your inspiration as to what kind of various areas can be. So, you know, it feeds, you know, we need a reactor room, we need a briefing room, we need a med bay, we need all these things. And it's kind of subconsciously fed into the design theory of every other ship that we've made since. So we've got these kind of archetypes now that we really kind of push through as much as possible to make sense of each ship, and I think the Idis was the first to do that correctly.
Beyond being a ship, it's almost a flying level. I mean, there have been, I've heard discussions of people being like, oh, we could totally turn this into like an FPS level in space because the ship's so big, and maybe one day that'll happen, maybe they'll do something with that, but like, it's huge for a player ship. When I first started on it, I got lost in it, and I'm not ashamed to say I still get lost in it every now and then. You'll walk out the kitchen and be like, do I turn left or right to get to the nose of the ship, you know? We were putting a bunch of things to increase usability, so like the different sides are color-coded, one side's green, one side's red, and we got signposts everywhere.
I don't think people realise how much this ship has. I think there is a lot of hidden places that people just don't realise, like pretty much every bit of the interior of the ship has been covered. There is not, we're actually struggling.
That was interesting. We just lost our video, didn't we? Hi, can you hear me, fastcart? I don't hear you.
That's because I was muted.
Oh, okay. We lost our video. Yeah, I don't know what happened. That was strange. I was just doing something that was nothing to do with changing stuff. Let me see if I can get it back to where we were. Hang on, guys. We're going to try to pick up where that video was. Good to see you guys. Stand by. Hang on a second. Hold on a minute. Let's go back.
One of those days.
Yeah, this is not... Yeah, let's see if I can find it. Hold on.
So we had Steve Humphreys, one of our coders.
Every bit of new tech that's come into the ship pipeline or like volumetric fog or anything like that has gone into the Idis first. It's been like the test ground for every other ship. It's the biggest ship and it's like the main hub in Squadron 42. So we want to get that right to set the standards for all other capital ships.
It plays an integral kind of role in Squadron. It's pretty much your home that you kind of go back to an awful lot. So it needed to facilitate a lot more kind of, a lot more of the script, a lot more gameplay. So over time it kind of grew. It was one of our obviously highest priorities. So we had to work out from pretty much the inside out, like the layout of the ship from scratch to facilitate not only kind of decent gameplay, decent gunplay, balancing the gameplay as well from a PU perspective, but also facilitating all the things that are required in the script. And that's really cool actually, because it kind of feeds your inspiration as to what kind of various areas can be. So, you know, it feeds, you know, we need a reactor room, we need a briefing room, we need a med bay, we need all these things. And it's kind of subconsciously fed into the design theory of every other ship that we've made since. So we've got these kind of archetypes now that we really kind of push through as much as possible to make sense of each ship, and I think the Idis was the first to do that correctly.
Beyond being a ship, it's almost a flying level. I mean, there have been, I've heard discussions of people being like, oh, we could totally turn this into like an FPS level in space because the ship's so big, and maybe one day that'll happen, maybe they'll do something with that, but like, it's huge for a player ship. When I first started on it, I got lost in it, and I'm not ashamed to say I still get lost in it every now and then. You'll walk out the kitchen and be like, do I turn left or right to get to the nose of the ship, you know? We were putting a bunch of things to increase usability, so like the different sides are color-coded, one side's green, one side's red, and we got signposts everywhere.
I don't think people realise how much this ship has. I think there is a lot of hidden places that people just don't realise, like pretty much every bit of the interior of the ship has been covered. There is not, we're actually struggling to find places to put more things into it because we were limited on the exterior, basically. We needed to get some airlocks into like the front section of the ship, and we're like, okay, where can we put these airlocks? And it's like, well, we can't put them on the side because of the angle of the front of the ship, so we've had to put them going up. But there's a lot of space on the exterior part at the front, but on the interior part, it wasn't. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. We had to juggle a lot of rooms around and stuff and remove certain sections of the ship that didn't make sense anyway, and to fit certain rooms into it and just rejig things around. And I think it's all for the better.
Because this ship is like very heavily used in Squadron, the interior was kind of set in stone when I first went onto it. So for a lot of the newer ships we've had set up, we've kind of been able to set up like, this is the engineering bay, this is the living quarters, whatever. For the Idis, it's also very small. It's not quite that clear cut. It's kind of everything's right next to each other and it's all very sort of tightly packed into the ship. But I mean, you start off with the hangar at the very base of the ship, and it's huge. You can fit 3 ships in there, and there's cargo capacity along the sides of the hangar as well. Along with cargo lifts to go up into the hangar bay on the floor above. But you then have like a couple of staircases which will take you up to the main deck of the ship. Pretty much everything else on the ship is. You've at the nose, you've got like turret rooms, you've got the medi bay. Behind that, you've got like the living quarters, the captain's quarters, the kitchen, and behind that, you've got the more engineering side of things. So you've actually got the engineering room itself. There's airlocks back there. There's a briefing room as well if you want to just like talk to people and sort something out for the rest of your crew. And at the top, you've of course got the bridge, which is its own like self-contained beast with 11 seats in there, plus a radar, or the hollow globe. It's just big and complicated.
It had a lot of interesting challenges. I think the original version of the hangar had, for example, like the main access for the hangar was right in the middle of the hangar. Like these ladders came down out of the ceiling, which baffled me at the time. So it was really kind of working out kind of interesting ways where you can clear that runway space, and it is a runway at the end of the day, but also open up access to, it's the heart of the ship, so open up access to the rest of the ship. And I was very kind of keen at the time to open up as many kind of portals of opportunity, I kind of call them, where you can see through into other sections of the ship. So you can walk out of the hangar, for example, you can walk for a good 5 minutes, and you kind of double back on yourself, and all of a sudden you're looking back down into the hangar. And there is a degree of, you know, when you land, you look up and you can see these areas, and it's like, okay, I want to get there, which feeds into the narrative of certain kind of chapters in Squadron as well. So it's really kind of cool to just kind of link all that together. So when you're in this kind of hectic kind of hangar environment, and you're looking up and you've got this kind of cool, calm habitation area, the two conflicting is quite an interesting thing to look at. And it makes the ship feel, even though it's huge, it kind of makes it feel a bit more personal.
So we had many challenges, because we had obviously Squadron 42, which it features heavily in Squadron 42. It's your home base. It's where you come back to after each mission in the game. And it's where you can have a lot of downtime to get used to talking to other characters, getting to know the people on the ship, to try and get like this like emotional like connection with everyone. It's your main base essentially. So Squadron 42 is probably one of the main ones we've been gearing it towards, and then the persistent universe is just stemmed from the Squadron 42 version of the ship. Collaborative gameplay is probably like where this ship is going to excel in compared to other areas. You're going to need a big crew to run the ship. It's not like any other ship in the game. You're going to need a hefty crew support with this ship. You can't run it on your own. It's so big. To get from one point to another can take 5 minutes. And you're going to need to be able to communicate with the rest of your party.
You need a crew to really fly this thing. We've got a bunch of seats on the bridge, and what we've done is each seat has a different priority. So the pilot seat has priority over the engines, and if the pilot seat is then left unoccupied, if you have a co-pilot sitting in the co-pilot seat, they have priority on the engines. So the pilot can, I don't know, if they get killed or go away or something, then the co-pilot will take control and do a lot of the flying for you, but they also will be able to do their own thing with their terminal. Then you have the weapon seat, which controls the gun, but the pilot can also control the gun if the weapon seat isn't being used. There's this sort of interlaying dependency on the seats. So it's worth having multiple people just because there's going to be a lot to do and one person won't be able to do it all.
It's pretty much got what other ships have, but it's just on such a larger scale that I think it's going to hit people's nostalgia of old Star Wars movies. I think that's my most exciting part.
We have a kind of ongoing little giggle about it. It kind of is good at everything. There's nothing that I don't feel it's particularly weak at for that size of ship. You can carry obviously three kind of Gladius small sized fighters in the hangar. We also have the Argo utility vehicle, which tucks into a sub deck underneath the ship, which is really interesting. It kind of drops down like the Aliens dropship scene, which is sweet. And then you've got pretty much everything else that it can do as well. You've got multiple turrets across the top and the bottom of the ship. You've got the huge railgun at the front, plenty of cargo space to the side of the hangars. It's a level. There's so much stuff in this ship that's actually physically flying through the universe with people sat in it, and all the VFX are staying with it, and all the fog's staying with it, and all the usables are staying with it, and all the components are staying with it. Everything in there moves and is interactable, and this thing's flying at light speed through space. So it's really impressive, and you just get these moments like when we were playing, that demo over and over and over again in the run-up, and then you get these breakthrough moments where they switch the camera to one guy at QA, and he was just sat there looking out the side window of the bridge, and they were just leaving orbit, and you're just like, okay, but you get these moments that completely kind of change your attitude to things, and it kind of makes you want to go even further. It's hard, it is really hard to do that stuff, and you can it takes its toll on you as an individual, but then you get these moments and you're just like, yes, this is what makes it all worth it.
The Idis, originally envisioned by celebrated concept artist Ryan Church, is one of the signature ships appearing in the upcoming Squadron 42. I'm pleased to announce that much like the Javelin we discussed last month, due to its size, the Idis is in all of final art phase, where in the hands of the Squadron 42 art team, they're currently working on the various set dressings and special lighting setups necessary to turn it into one of the many cinematic locations you'll visit in the game. It's this combination of immense size and impressively cinematic Squadron 42 game needs that means there's still plenty of work left to be done before this vessel moves into flight prep. But you can be certain, when that time comes...
Uh-oh. You muted up on Discord.
I don't know what happened, but we were at the end of that episode, so we'll leave it there with that image of Jarrett dressed up like Santa Claus. Hey, welcome everybody to the Soul Citizens. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and I'm joined today with my compadre, one and the only fastcart FC. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Jared was dressed for Christmas, Easter, and April Fool's all in that one shot.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah, listen, today's show is a little bit different, something that we've never done before. We've kind of talked around it before, but we've never really focused the topic of dealing with ships that are not in the game. And so we titled this show today, Just Ships Delayed, Just Ships Denied. And so we want to talk about, these various ships, and quite a few, in fact. I think, how many was it, Fastcart? Did we count up? 34, 36?
36.
Something 36. Like that? 36 ships, roughly? Yeah. Now we want to clarify this a little bit, clarify a little bit here. The ships that we're talking about are ships that you as backers, or we as backers, have paid for. The ones that, in other words, money's been on the table, has been exchanged, and we're basically waiting for them to be produced in the game. So understand that that's kind of how this is all going. But we want to kind of do a little game with you guys too tonight. Fastcart doesn't know about this little game, so I'm going to tell you what the game is. The game is going to be, as we go through these ships, we want you guys to vote, okay? And the vote should be Thrakazak. Thank you so much for that community sub. We appreciate it. Isle Spartan, thank you for your resub as well earlier. And Yo-Yo Meg, thank you for sending your loved ones over here to us. Shout out with 67 folks coming over. We appreciate it. Double Dogs, woof woof. Appreciate that. Welcome, folks. So this is the game I want to do, Fastcart. Maybe we can figure out the best way to do this. We can either say yes or no, or we can scale it from 1, 2, or 3. Okay, I don't know what's the best way to do this. Let's say, or we could say yes, no, or maybe. But this is the game. The game is, as we go down these ships, we're going to ask our viewers to vote and say, should this ship be in the game in its current state? Does that make sense?
The game in the current state, not the ship in the current state, but the game in the current
state. No, the game in the current state. Right, right. Because we're talking about ships that are not in the game. So the question is, should this ship, if we pick this particular ship, do you think this ship should be in the game right now? Fair enough?
Okay, I think yes or no would be good.
Yes or no will work. Okay, let's go. Yeah, because maybe might hedge the bet too much. So we're gonna say you have to say yes or no. Okay, that's gonna be the deal. Okay, so hopefully you guys won't get mad at the ones we pick. But we're gonna say yes or no, and we're gonna vote too. But we really want you guys to know as we go through these ships, you guys can share with us which ones you guys think should or shouldn't be in the game, and we'll talk about why. We'll give us some whys and stuff. And if you guys have whys, then feel free to put them in the game as well. Okay, Fastcart, let me ask you a question off the bat, right from the very beginning. What are some reasons why you think that many of the ships that the community's been asking for are not necessarily in the game? And I know we just watched this video on the Idris, and we did start it with that video for a reason, because we wanted to kind of show all the hard work and detail that went into creating the Idris. And that video, by the way, gang, was 6 years old. That video is 6 years old. Okay. So go ahead, FC.
So the reason why some of the ships are not in the game, there's no gameplay for it. And some of them are just so freaking huge and big it takes a lot of development time to put into the game. And sometimes it's just that, for my favorite ship, there's no design language, or the design language isn't there. They want to work on that before they get it into the game. But I think primarily there's no need for the ship in the game currently.
Okay. That's very true. All your points are on point. Another thing that back in the day, maybe you remember what the detail was, because I'm kind of hazy about it, because it's been, we take up so much information trying to remember all this stuff. But at one point, CIG did say that the emphasis on ships would be ships that were being produced also for Squadron 42. And they were kind of putting a priority on those ships first, if I'm remembering correctly. Was it something like that?
Yeah, because, the Gladius we work, or the gold standard for the Gladius, they wanted to get that in Squadron 42, and the whole sea is probably supposed to be the most common ship in the universe, so they wanted to put that in Squadron 42 to emphasize that. So yes.
Yeah.
But the good news is they did say in CitizenCon that they're diverting work from Squadron 42 because it's feature complete back into Star Citizen now.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't even have to go back that far. We know that's the case based upon the work that we've been seeing over the past few months. CIG's been just churning out stuff at a different scale than they've been doing in the past, because they moved those resources back over. Jolly Green Giant, our good friend from Test Squadron. Jolly, thank you so much. 1,000 bits. We truly appreciate that. Thank you. It's good to see you too. Yeah, so there are reasons, okay? And I know it's very difficult because we are all consumers, right? We like to consume. And there is kind of a, Fastcart, if you went out to go buy, let's say you were going to get a new apartment, right? And you put your money down for your deposit and everything. And they say, well, the apartment's going to be ready within the next 30 days. You'd probably be okay, right? They want to clean it up, get new paint, make sure the carpeting's clean. You'd be good with that, right? Probably.
Make sure the blood is off the floor.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be good with that.
All right, deposit, right? Now, mind you, just at a deposit, right? Okay, now let's say that it's not a deposit. Let's say you paid your deposit. Now you're paying your full month's rent, and they tell you, well, we're not going to have your place ready for another 3 months. How are you going to feel then?
Not good.
Okay.
I need a place to stay.
Okay. All right. Okay. And part of it is because, you know, you haven't, you know, the deposit thing was just kind of like a, you know, this is letting you know my intention, right? That I want to be able to move here. But once you've paid the full rent, you're like, hey, I'm ready to move in, right? And they come back and tell you, well, it's not. If I were to buy a car, right, and I went to the car dealership and I gave them some money down on the car, that was one thing. But if I paid for the car and then they tell me, well, your car won't be ready for another 8 months, unless I know there's some reason why, like it's a custom build or, you know what I mean, something special. Then,
like a Cybertruck?
No, not a Cybertruck. No. I mean something custom built, you know. And don't get me wrong. I mean, if there's a delay in the wait, that's fine. And you know what? If there's a delay in the wait and you know that, you have the choice to decide on whether or not, you know, I want to put the money down. Sometimes in Star Citizen, though, we don't know what the delay will be, right? All we get is that it's in concept and it's going to get worked on. So it's not like when I put money down for the Zeus, I know that I'm going to have the Zeus in the next 6 months. What were you going to say?
Can I make up another reason why the ship may not be in a game?
Sure.
Like the player population for a server is like currently around 100, but you know some of these ships are going to require so many people. You need a higher server population, so that's another good reason why something like the Idis or something else that carries a lot of people to not be in the game currently.
I would say yes and no to that. I think if you look at it from the perspective of if the ship is well manned and all the mechanics are there, that's the case. But there are some people like yourself who don't care if your merchantman has all the people on it. You want your merchantman. I mean, I'm just saying it as it is, right?
I can wait.
Well, yeah, you can. But I'm saying there are some people who they may think, I don't want to have 18 people for my Idris. I just want me and my buddy, you know, or I just want me. You know, I mean, they I guess my point is that there is a certain dynamic inside of us as the way we live normally, that when we pay for something, we look to have it within what we would consider a reasonable amount of time, right? But this project... What they may consider reasonable and what we may consider reasonable can be very different, right? So, like I said, if I put money down on, there was one ship I remember, in fact, somebody, if I'm remembering correctly, they had to get a refund or they made a big deal about it. It was when the Sayulan or the Gatak, I think it was the Gatak. The
Raylan?
This guy bought the Raylan. Yeah,
the Raylan.
Yeah, the Raylan. And the guy bought it like in October or something like that during the sale, and then he found out afterward, because he was expecting it like to come out the next patch in January. Then he found out it wasn't, you know, scheduled to come out, and he got upset about it, right? You know, some people will say, well, you need to redefine print. But, you know, there is an expectation, I think, that people, when they put their money down on a ship, they're thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll get it back. There are some people who are frustrated because they feel like certain ships they paid for back in like 2015, right? And then...
earlier.
Or earlier. And then 2018 and 19, ships pop up that we never heard of. And those ships pop up within a year or two, right? And 6 or 7 years has gone by. And they're like, where's my such and such, right? All these new ships seem to pop up out of nowhere. And you guys have produced those, but you haven't made the ships that you, quote unquote, as some people will say, promised back in 2014 or 15, right? So I guess my point is that people have a lot of different feelings about it. Like you yourself said, for your merchantman, some people are resigned to the fact of when it's ready, right? Some people are resigned to the fact that even if I had the ship, there's nothing I can do with it right now, you know, because the mechanics aren't in. For some people, like you said, it's like the ship's so big right now and the servers can't even accommodate it. You know, I mean, there's different sides to this whole thing. I guess we want to have understanding as to why people feel both ways, you know, when it comes to this. So, Okay. All right. So listen, if you...
Oh, by the way... maybe I'm messing up, but do you want to explain where the title come from? Just ship delayed, just ship denied.
I don't think I have to explain it. If people know what it is, they'll know, and if they don't know, they can look it up. All right. Yep. Don't go political on me on the weekend. It's not a good thing to do. So, all right. But I think that I know there are some people who already have smiled and said good title, Griff. So there are people out there who get it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And again, we want you guys to join us here on the voting. The first category that we had of ships were fighters, and there was really only one ship that popped up for us for fighters. that I can remember. Now, mind you, please understand, these are the ships that we know that have come up. CIG has shown them as concept, and people have spent money on them. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And we think we got them all. If we missed one, y'all can tell us. But we think, unless you all know of any other fighters, and I'm not talking about reworks or anything like that. We're just talking about ships that are not in the game. Okay.
Don't count the Bengal carrier, because that's not technically a fighter. You can fight with it, but it's not a fighter.
Yeah,
Like that.
And none of you have bought the Bengal carrier either, so it better not pop up on the screen. All right, but this one here, fastcart, is fairly recent. We just saw the Zeus's, I think, within the last year, and we actually saw a gray box on them recently too, showing that there's already progress on these. CIG is putting like this special emphasis on the RSI right now because that model they're feeling pretty comfortable with. Their design language, like you mentioned earlier, they're feeling pretty good about it. Do you think this one's going to come out soon, or you think they'll just do like the ES or the CL first? What do you think? Or do you think they'll launch all three of them?
I don't think they'll do all three, but I wouldn't know what order they'll put it on. I'm guessing maybe the CL first. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Okay.
If they don't put them all at one time, I would get the CL first. But other than that, I had no idea.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys tell us, do you guys think this should be in, let's say, yes, if you think it should be in the game, no, if you think it shouldn't be in the game. Now, let me give you some pros and cons before y'all start punching numbers. You know, there are other ships that are bounty ships or policing ships in the game. So I know you could say, yeah, well, it won't hurt to add another one. But do you think that this one should be in the game? Put yes if you think it should be, and no if you think it shouldn't be. Thank you again. Oh my God, Jolly, thank you for the 1,000 bits again. We appreciate it. Okay.
For the bet.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're getting a lot of yeses. Okay.
Yeah, a couple of
not
no's.
yet. Couple of not yet.
Not yet.
No. Okay. All right. We're leaning toward it.
It's getting about even now.
Yeah. All right. No, it does nothing. I guess has nothing to do with that ships that are already in the ships the game do. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, mind you, now let me qualify this a little bit too. Some of the ships, even the ones we have now, don't have all their features in them, guys. So, I understand that the whole bounty hunting thing is not in the game. I'm just curious as to whether you guys think it should be in there. We got a little bit of mixed crowd there. Some people felt, yeah, it could be. I think the impact on a ship like this, fastcart, coming into the game would not be bad. It's a 3-person crew. Even though the bounty side isn't in it, we could say the same thing about the Cuddy Blue, right? We could say the same thing about the Hawk, right? It would just be another ship that's in the game that its features aren't there, right? So does it lend anything to the game right now? My answer is no, it doesn't. Will it hurt being in the game right now? I say no, it doesn't. So I'm kind of in between on this one. Okay.
Yeah, me too. I agree with your reasoning.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, let's go on to our next category. This is a bigger category. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, let's start out with this one.
How long are we going to spend on this one? An hour?
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, fastcart. You could pick a little bit on this one.
This is Carone Trade. You got the Miss Hull B, the Miss Hull D, the Miss Hull E, the Zeus TL, the Gatek Whalen, Drake Kraken Pirateer, and brand new Merchant Man. Yeah, it's Carone Trade. These are the ships that for the title says that it has cargo. You can shuttle stuff from place to place and buy and sell stuff. But in my particular opinion, the economy is not there for all of these ships basically.
Now
it's kind of there, but it's not. Yeah.
I'm going to come back a little bit on yours, just a little bit. There are 3 ships in here that I would like to see in the game. Okay. One of them being the Hull B. The Hull B fixed the gap between the Hull A, which I think is 64 SCU, and the Hull B is something like 324 or something like that. I got to look up the number. 3 something. Yeah. And then when you get to the Hull C, you're freaking like almost 5,000, right? You're at 4,096 or something. So there's nothing filling that middle gap. And all the ships I'm about to pick are those ships that fill that gap. Because what happens for me, and maybe some players, is when you're playing with something like a Taurus or something, you can only get up to like 96 SCU, maybe 100. And then after that, you've got to jump all the way to, unless you want to take like a weird ship like a Starfarer. The next cargo-oriented ship you've got to take is like a frickin' C2 or a Caterpillar. There's nothing in that gap in between for us right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it has to be in the game. I'm just saying it would be nice if it was in the game, the Hull B. And I would also say the Zeus CL, because I think it's 120 SCU. Is that right, guys? Anybody remember?
128.
128? Okay. So it kind of fills a bit of a gap, too. It's not as big. And the other one is the Raylan. I'd be willing to see. I
don't know how many that is.
I think it's like 300 and something. So, I would kind of like to see those three come into the game. They're low impact, small crew, just, but their capacities fill a gap in the game right now. 320. Thank you, Sandy Groper. They kind of fill a gap. And so Freelancer Master is 120? Really? Why did I think it was like...
Yeah, it's about that, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's why people are waffling between the Zeus CL and the...
okay. Well, if the max...
Because the max holds them, and it's had holds.
Okay, I don't know why I thought the max was like around... I don't know. I thought it was less than 120. So if the max holds 120, then I'll scrap the CL, okay? I mean, if they put it in, fine. I mean, we know they're working on the Zeus series, so I wouldn't be surprised if it pops up. They have a tendency to drop the cargo variants first, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did do it. But I will say for that B and that Raylan, they would fill a middle gap in there. So let's get the yeses and nos, guys. On the Hull B, I see a lot of people saying, yeah, the Hull B wouldn't be a bad deal. What about the Hull D and E fast car? I think those are kind of... Yeah, right. No,
you got the Hull C right now, and yeah, you're having trouble with the Hull C. I mean, I think they would have to nail down and get rid of some of the issues that they're having with the Hull C before they put out the Hull D. But
well, you know what?
I would hope for it.
The Hull C is working fine. I've been doing cargo runs with the Hull C with no problem. What I've had a problem with, there is two things. There is one issue. Once in a while, when you bring the wings in, it will leave the ones that are vertical. They'll still extend through the ship. And if you open and close it again, then they'll go in. That's the only problem I've had with the Hull C. The real issue is that the docking doesn't work for the Hull C. If you try to dock it, that's the issue. But the ship itself has been reliable. I've been making good money doing Hull C runs, and I've been having fun with it.
And personally, I would love to see the Hull B because I bought it at the concept, but I still have it.
So you got it at the great price.
At a cheap price.
Yeah, you got it at the great price then. Yeah, I know that I have a Hull A. I like using it, but sometimes that 64 SU is not enough. I need something that takes me to that next level without having to worry about putting out a Hull C. You know what I mean? Just for I wish it was in the game. So that's fine. So D and E, we know, guys, just huge ships to be in the game. The economy doesn't support them. You go, they're just big ships. You clean out a whole place taking either one of those ships right now in Stanton.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So we have Invictus Week that's coming in May, but after Invictus Week they have Alien Week.
Right.
Do you think maybe we're going to update for the Wayland by then?
Well, there's a couple of unannounced ships out there right now. We don't have the progress report tracker to show us what they're working on right now. If they gave us the Raylan because the Zulin has come out now and they kind of have a design model for it, it would be pretty cool. I know there are plenty of people who would love to have that shipping game because it does fit that middle ground for people who like doing cargo. But again, they may whip something else out that we don't expect for Alien Week. Because last year was dry. Remember, people were really disappointed that there was nothing new Alien last year on Alien Week. So who knows? It could be that, or it could be, I would hope they introduce something else, but one of the other, other aliens. But if they do the Gataca Raylan, I would not be mad at them. Let's talk about the two big daddies here. The Kraken Privateer. I was never a big fan of the Krakens. I thought they were cool, but I was never big until I started looking into those ships. And boy, oh boy, they are massive. I mean, I put a Kraken up to the same level I put a Javelin. Once you start looking at the levels in it and all the space in it, all of the functionality that it can do, plus it's multifunction. Well, the price too. Yeah, you're right. As far as a capital ship, man, I just see a lot of work when I see that thing. It is definitely a ship that an org, if you were dealing with an org for the Javelin, obviously we're looking at something that's very military combat based, right? But the Privateer or the Kraken both allow multi-use in what you could do with it. You can do mining off of it, cargo off of it, trading off of it, battles off of it. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. It's got a lot of flexibility, which it has over ships like the Merchantman, where the merchantman is definitely focused about commerce, trade, making your money, doing some good long range exploration, looking for items and stuff. But they're differing ships, right? And so to me, I know there's some people who say, well, wow, the prices are very different, but I also think it's because the privateer or the Kraken have way more versatility than with the I think the merchant is a little bit more specialized. But anyway, that's my speech about the Kraken. Plus, the thing is a monster. You remember back in the day, that thing was out on the pad in Hurston, and you could see how big that ship was. I mean, it was huge sitting out there on the landing pad. They took it away. I wish it was still out there, but it is not a small ship.
I still remember that commercial that came out in 2018,
oh, yeah.
2018 in Austin, and like that's one of my favorite CIG commercials for a ship commercial. And you get to see how it just slowly stroll. It's like the Star Destroyer in the opening scene of Star Wars. They kind of had that feel. So yeah, they did get a good job in the commercial. And as far as the ship itself, it's very versatile. People can come to you. You don't have to worry about docking. You can just land on the ship. And you have to have security force there, but once you get that taken care of, you should be all fine.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing ship. But again, my vote on this one, gang, would be no on the Kraken being in the universe, no on the Hull D being in the universe, Hull E. I'm talking about now, current state, guys. We're not talking about later. We're not yet. The Zeus CL, I'm going to say a no to that because we do have the max, but I would be open to the B and the Raylan. Let's talk about the Merchantman. Let's talk about that one. I know there's a pro and con to waiting and a pro and con to getting it, to you. So what's your thoughts?
I mean, they're still working on the design language. We had an update. Startup Grim did a great job on the video coming out earlier this week. I would recommend people checking that video out for the Banning Merchantman. But we had an update around CitizenCon, and I got to talk with Ben, one of the people who's working on it at the VIP party, after party at CitizenCon. He said he told me it'll be worth the wait, so I'm taking him for his word. But yeah, as far as putting it in now, I'm okay with waiting. The gameplay is not really there. I mean, the longer you wait, the better it'll be. Plus, you had some of the people leaving the project who took the knowledge with them, so they have to train up people in order to get back that knowledge. So they say it'll be worth the wait. I'll take a word for it. I believe them.
I'm going to give you a thought here, because a lot of times people will talk about certain ships and people will say, oh, that'll probably be one of the last ships that they make. That's what a lot of times people will say. They'll say that about the Orion. They'll say that about the Endeavor. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Merchantman's further along than we think it is. I think that that was almost 2 years ago when there was the exiting of Paul Jones and some of those people. And the fact that they're now double, tripling, quadrupling, whatever, their resources toward development on the Star Citizen side means that they've got not only the training aspect, but there's more hands-on deck aspect. It was a very small team that was working on it before, like 6 people. So I think now, if it was based upon how things were before, I would say, yeah, a long time. But I'm not saying it's going to come out within next year, but I think that it will be something that is unique to trade. And if we're going to get an economy going, where we start talking about multiple systems and doing stuff, I think that ship is going to be just something that CIG might put some emphasis on in its own way. Because a lot of the ship was done. And to your point, when you look at Starjump's Grimm's video, he even showed that they pretty much knew where things were going to be. It wasn't like they were going to be flipping around the interior of the ship. It was just more or less the fact that there were certain areas that were completed. Like we saw the one area where the bedrooms were. That we saw what that looked like. But then there were other areas that were still in gray box, right? And so the design languages in those rooms needed to be finalized and fixed up. So I think I'm going to just say I think it's going to happen sooner than people think. I'm not going to put a timeline on it, but I just think it's going to come a little bit sooner than what people think.
Yeah, ever since, I want to say 2021, when they did that, one of the major reconcept and updates from CitizenCon, people have always been saying 18 months. I'm not even going to try to say it 18 months anymore. It'll be done when it's done.
Yeah, it'll be ready when it's ready. Okay. All right, so that's where we are on the cargo and trade. All right, gang, let's hit the next one here. Transport. We've got the Anvil Liberator, we've got the Crusader E1, and we've got the Crusader Genesis. Fastcart, whichever one you want to pick, which one you want to talk about?
I think the E1 probably should be in the game, even though there's not really, gameplay for it. But it would be a nice ship. It's like the Lynx. It's up. The Lynx is the vehicle, obviously, but it's a luxury ship.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that plays for the E1 at the moment.
Okay.
The Liberator, well, maybe when Pyro comes online, people can use the Liberator for that. So not for 322, but for 323.
Okay.
The Genesis Starliner. I'm sorry, DK. I'm sorry, DK. Not yet for the Genesis.
Okay. I'm going to go with the E1. Yes, but only if they're ready to implement some type of transport gameplay. Now, that doesn't have to be NPC based. It could be based upon players too. Like right now, we put out a beacon when we want somebody to pick us up. Well, if they were to make that something that, was designed in some way that would land at space, like you go to a spaceport or a place and, you get picked up, there's some form of gameplay to go along with it. But to have it in the game right now, and there's nothing that focuses people to want to use the E1 where they can just go jump in the back of somebody else's ship. To me, it would be kind of a waste. It would be nice to have. Me, I'm the guy who's into executive and luxury, but I'm willing to say, unless the gameplay's in there, I can wait on it. The Genesis, to your point, absolutely, because the E1 is supposed to be the platform for us getting to this transport career. And so we do want to see it work out on a smaller scale before we get into the bigger scale. The Liberator, I would love to see the Liberator on the floor at at Invictus this year, preparing to go into Pyro. You know what I mean? We've already, it's been sold, right? I would love for that to be something that they're working on, and it pop up at IAE or at Invictus, so that when we do, as you mentioned, when we go into Pyro, we know that there are going to be people who are going to be able to need to move vehicles and move ships. And I hate to tell you this, a C2 is great for most vehicles, but it sucks for ships. So we need something that we can put fighters on and things of that nature to get them around. So for me, the only one that really gets a big push on this one is the Liberator, even though having the other two would be nice. Okay.
One thing about the Genesis, I'm wondering, like they had the C2 and then they became the C1. They had the A2, then that became the A1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering whether or not they'll rename the Genesis into the E2.
That's an interesting idea. That's because it already went from the Genesis Starliner to the Genesis, right? And Crusader's known for changing these names from the Star Runner to the Mercury.
Mercury Star to Mercury.
Could they do that? The funny thing about the Genesis is that the Genesis in lore is multi-designed. There's everything from a military version of it to a cargo version.
Modular.
There's a VIP transport version of it, plus a regular commercial version of it. What they could do is an E2 though. Another, like the E1 is a dedicated, flight thing. They could do an E2 that's bigger, somewhere between the Genesis and the E1. But to your point, they could also say, hey, the E2 is the Genesis. That's the next, level of it. They could do that too. I'd be happy if they did 3, but if they did 2, I'm not gonna be mad at them. Okay. All right, let's see. What did folks say? What did you guys think? I know somebody said all 3. Somebody wanted all 3.
That's all 3. They say give them everything.
Give us all. Shimpasta says yes, all 3. Okay, all right, Shimpasta. We'll see what happens with the all 3, but I don't know. We'll see. All right. Let's go to the next one here, which is medical. Now, this is interesting because I was going to put down about the Endeavor and stuff, but I said, no, we'll keep that with the modular section, right? So let's just go with these here. As far as medical goes, we've got the Apollo Medevac and the Apollo Triage. And most of you guys know what the differences are between the two. One is a bit more armored and has a little bit more better weapons, but it is a little bit slower. The other one is basically less armored, standard weapons, but it is faster. But they basically do the same functions, have tier 1, tier 2, and you have tier 3 beds in them. They're to be crewed. That's what they are. Medical has been growing fastcart over the last few years, little by little, but not a lot. Do we need them in the game right now?
I believe we do.
You think so?
Especially with the power and everything coming up. And, chat is pointing out that we forgot the Galaxy Medical. The Galaxy Medical is missing.
Thank you, chat. Well, that's a module. That's a module. No, it's a module.
Yeah, the module.
It'll go into modularity category. It's in the modular. We're getting to the modularity stuff later, guys, so we'll get there. These are dedicated ships.
Yeah, I would say yes. Put them in now, because there's always have people who have a beacon up, and yes, we already have ships that provide this stuff, but more options is better in my opinion.
Now, I'm going to say no. And the only reason I'm going to say no is what you just said. We've got the Pisces C8R, which is rescue. We've got the Cutlass Red, which is rescue, right? And then if people want to take out up another tier, they've got their Carrack and their 890s that they can use for tier 2 beds. Now, the reason why I'm only upping it is... 890? Yeah. No, they have tier 2 beds. Those are only ships that have tier 2 med beds in them. Okay, so you don't have, we don't have a tier 1 bed. That's the one thing you don't have. You got tier 3, whatever it is. You know what I mean? You got the lightweight, medium.
Cutlass Red too.
I said Cutlass Red. I said Cutlass Red and the C8R. Okay, those are the same type bed. The next level bed is the Carrack and the 890 bed. Okay, after that you got to go to a hospital. The only reason why I'm saying no to these ships is, even though it would be cool to have them, it introduces some new mechanics. And if those mechanics aren't in the game, like getting the whole all 3 tier beds, then it's just repeating what other ships are doing in the game already. Unless they make it where it actually can do heal all 3 levels, then to me, it's just another medical ship. And it also takes away from CIG's focus on bringing in ships like the Polaris, the Perseus, and the Galaxy if they're going to start working on these smaller ships first. They really want to work those bigger ships in now. So,
when you work on a smaller ship, that'll make the bigger ship that much better, because they have the design.
No, they basically said nah. I know it seems that, and no, you're right. There is an aspect of working on the smaller ones for the design language. They did that with the Banu Merchantman, right? The Defender, that helped them start the design language. But they've said they're trying to work it the other way back this time, right? They want to come back and go this way. I don't know. This feels like a little bit of repetition. That's all I'm saying. It's got some uniqueness to it, but I feel more repetition than I feel uniqueness with these ships. Even though I love these ships, I think they're very, very cool.
I do too. I do like them. I like the OSI design language. Yeah.
Yeah, Axis. Yeah, they are doing that focus, but they are right now focused on that series of ships that all those little Star Destroyer looking ships, the Polaris, the Perseus, and the Galaxy. Those are the ones that they're working on right now.
Let me ask you this, Griffin. So let's say you got some kind of health insurance in the game that you're paying for. You want to be picked up in the Cutlass Red by Drake or an RSI Apollo?
It doesn't make a difference. Listen, when you want medical help, you don't complain about who's picking you up. You don't listen. If you bleeding, you don't care if it's a garbage truck picking you up. You go wherever you got to go in to get to the hospital. So as long as it gets me to the hospital, I'm fine.
I'm a bit more particular.
Yeah, well, you'll be a particular more cold and dead if you're going to be that particular. So I'm not going to be that particular. All right, let's move on here. Now we got a big category here. Industrial. This time I started out the Crucible. I'm going to say no. As much as I would love to see Repair come into the game, there's some other ships that can bring that in instead of this one, because this is the granddaddy of Repair, and it's a big ship. A lot of people look at the Crucible and think it's small. It's not. It is a big freaking ship, so it introduces a lot of other mechanics in it. Some of which that we have in the game, and then there's some other mechanics that we don't. And so for right now, I've got a different ship that I'll go to, and that's going to be the one that actually follows this one, which is the Vulcan. Because the Vulcan introduces 3 features that I think I would love to see. One of them being rearming, restocking, refueling rather, and repairing.
Right.
We've got repair, right? We've got restock, but only at stations, right? And we've got rearming, refueling. Refueling we've got on the Starfarer, so we know we can get that in. Repair is the only one we don't have going on a ship. And what the problem is with that one is that we have to use drones to do it. So I would love to see the drone gameplay start to get built out at some point because of ships like the Orion, the Carrack, the Nautilus. There are a lot of other ships that are going to be using the drone stuff. And so to me, with this being a small ship, this is the place to start with is the Vulcan, because those drones can do different things. And then after that, they can start expanding that out to other ships. But we don't have the drone stuff in to make that work just yet. So that's my spin on that one. The Expanse, absolutely. I know I'm being I'm being a little biased, only because it would take us to the next level of mining gameplay, because right now we can mine and get all the resources, but we're forced to have to take mining stuff back to a station, right, to put the resources in. If we had the Expanse, we could extend that gameplay feature and stimulate some other type of encounters out in space. But I could live without it. We've got refining in the game at stations, so if it's not there, okay, I get it. At least there is a way for me to refine, but it would be cool if that was in. Arastra? No. I know there are a lot of people.
What the Arastra is again?
That's the mining ship between the Mole and the Orion.
Okay.
Nice ship, bigger ship. Vehicles can go in it. You can take moles. What do they call that? Moles. You can take not mules. I can't think of what they call the ship. What's the other mining thing, y'all? The vehicle.
Oh, the
rocks. You could take rocks out with it, vehicles out with it. You can mine. You can do all that stuff, and it's really cool. But it's also a bigger ship than a Mole, smaller ship than an Orion, and it's group gameplay. But some people might want to just solo it or do one or two people. But there are ships in the game that already do what it does. Only thing that it does is it's got a refinery on it. And again, I'd rather see the Expanse come in than the Arastra.
The Expanse doesn't have one?
The Expanse is a refinery. That's what it is.
Okay.
But the Arastra is a mining ship that has a refinery. So I'm kind of willing to take a pass on that one. I'm a miner, y'all. I love mining. So that's just me. The Orion.
You look older than 18.
Huh?
You look older than 18.
Yeah, right. The Orion.
That's my April Fool joke for the night. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. The Orion, forget about it. Forget about it. No. Too big.
So I know that's your ship.
Yeah, too big, too much. It just occupies too much space. There's not even enough to take it out there. We're not even at that point yet.
I would not be surprised if when CIG does introduce that thing, it'll crash the server like a Starfare did.
Yeah. Pioneer, nope, not there yet. We don't have base building in, and even if we do, I'd rather they start on a smaller scale, being able to do basic, simple stuff and then work their way up, because the Pioneer is going to be able to do a lot of things, everything in relation to building. I think when you start with a tier 0 something that allows us to do some basic building and build out from it. Plus, it's a monster as well. It is a gigantic ship. So that's my spin. You got any thoughts on any of these here?
I do want to see. I would think that we could do the Expanse right now in the game.
Okay.
Maybe and along with that the Arastra, because you like you say, you do have the mining and refinery. I would be okay with having both of those. And the Orion too big. Crucible is big. I would say the Vulcan before the Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the size and gameplay and crew multi-crew play for that reason.
Yeah.
The Pioneer, you can go either or. I mean, the gameplay is not there, but people have been waiting for the Pioneer. Pioneer is one of the more popular ships that people have been waiting for. It has a great commercial, even though I don't have a Pioneer. I do love that commercial. So I'm kind of biased when it comes to the Pioneer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But, it's interesting. We'll see. I know CIG had started doing some stuff with the Crucible a year ago or 2 years ago. I can't remember now when it was on the progress tracker. They had started messing with it. But the whole repair thing is still something that needs to be built out more. We've got some real basic repair stuff right now, and that's just kind of just doing the skin on ships. But we need to see that developed out a little bit more before we start looking at the Crucible. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the question about repair and rearm is like people have different needs when it comes to getting the ammo. So how much ammo can you take that will be enough for for whatever ship, you know.
That's
that
what
comes
we
by.
don't know, because that has come up as a conversation, right? Like if someone
Right.
says I need ammo, you know, how much, we don't know. The Vulcan, you know, we see the size of the ship. It's a pretty decent sized ship. But you know, will I have the right, you know, I may have plenty of ammo, but maybe it's not the right ammo that somebody needs, right?
Right.
So we're going to have to see how they fill that out. I'm not sure how they're going to do that just yet.
And how many different type of missiles are there?
Tons. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, I don't know. You know, it's yeah, it's a good question. You know, we can see how repair can be done easily and refuel, but that whole rearming thing, I don't know how they're gonna do that. You know, maybe it'll be nothing more than just, you know, you can get ballistics, you know, ballistic rounds, you know, to load up people's ships. Maybe some smaller missiles, maybe up to size 3s or something like that. You know, but you can't put a freaking size 9 torp in it. You know, we'll have to see.
Oh
you know.
man,
Yeah.
that'll take up the whole
Yeah.
thing, won't it?
Yeah, or size 10 bomb. You know, we'll have to see what they come up with for that. Okay. Alrighty.
What you could do it for like logistic. If you have like an area and an area in front of you, you could just have a specific Vulcan or rearming to ship just for that, and then have another one for the other area ships in your fleet.
Well, we'll go back to that for a hot second here. My issue with that is I'm still trying to see how rearming is going to take place, because there's a reason why they're doing it with drones, right? It's not like I'm going to fly out there with my ship, open the back hatch up, and you know, EVA over with the ammo, right? They've got drones doing it. So, you know, like right now when we do refueling, we have a process with the Starfarer where there's an attachment that comes on, and so I'm assuming that the drones are going to do something simple. Now, maybe they're just going to deliver it. You know what I mean? Maybe they will. But you still have to get even if it's rounds, you still have to get them loaded into the ship, right? If you pull your Ares out, right, and you got the ballistic rounds, how do they get loaded once I deliver them?
Into the ship.
And we just don't know, or into the gun mechanism. I don't know. We haven't seen how they're going to do that yet.
I'm guessing it'll go back to that Cryastro. Is that the name of the repair
The old
station
place?
that we had
Yeah.
back in the day?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Yeah, at Cryastro, where the flying drones.
So I'm guessing it'll be like magical technology.
Well, that was hand wavium though. I mean, yeah, but
Hand waving, that's what I meant.
yeah, but if they're physicalizing stuff, you know what I mean? Then, you know, I don't know. We don't know. It's it's a good question. That's all I can say. It's a good question. How they're gonna do it? You know, it's a good question. Okay, exploration, something that Fastcart and I are both interested in. And why don't you take these, Fastcart?
So you got the RSI Zeus ES, the exploration variant. We have a whole bunch of exploration ships already. Griffin made the argument that you know, since we already have so many right now, we don't really need more. I'm positive of the Zeus. I like the Zeus. So I would say yes to this, but I can understand why people will say no because we already had so many. The Odyssey, I just want to start killing characters left and right. Because you know that's what the role of the Odyssey is. I'm kidding. The Odyssey is too big, so I don't see really a need for the Odyssey at the moment. The Endeavor, man, we're waiting for that ship for so long, but yes, it's not ready. There's no place in the universe for it yet at the moment. But yeah, and you know. You always say, not always, but you know, people have been saying this for years. The Endeavor's going to be one of the last ships to come out. And I can see why, because it's so it's modular. It has a whole bunch of roles, and John Crew hates that ship. That's what Jared said. I haven't heard that from John Crew, but that's what Jared said. But yeah,
I wonder, and this is just a wonder, because they're working on the Zeus, and they showed us, the gray box for it. They, that they've been progressing with that. To introduce that ship into the game without any of its gameplay mechanics would be a waste of energy, right? Yeah. A lot of the exploration ships that we have right now have their placeholders in them. They don't have any exploration mechanic in them. There's no exploration, game feature. They don't do anything, right? Whether you want to talk about the Aquila, the Freelancer, none of them have any of the features that are supposed to be in them. But we do know that CIG is working on the reworks on the Freelancers right now. So I'm wondering, this is just a wonder, y'all. I haven't heard, this is no secret squirrel stuff. I wonder with the introduction of the Zeus ES, if CIG and the reworking of the freelancers, that they will actually implement some form of exploration, because to your point earlier, we know that we're trying to prepare to go into Pyro. And we need to be able to have something that allows people to go in and scan, find things, you know, whatever the case may be. To go into Pyro without any tools to be able to explore is going to feel pretty empty. Now, it doesn't mean it has to happen when Pyro comes out, but I am saying at some point, you've got these ships that are supposed to have scanning things and all this other stuff, and they don't. Right now, you use them as a cargo carrier, right? Or just to move people around, and that's it. So I'm hoping that with the rework of the freelancers that they're doing and the implementation of ships like the Zeus ES, that they'll also introduce some form of exploration mechanic, so that when we get into 4.0 or the 1.0 area, you know, that hopefully in the 4.0 series, so that by the time we get to 1.0, there's some fleshed out exploration mechanic, right? I don't want to wait till 1.0. I hope it comes in before that.
You know, I'm thinking I might change my mind on the Odyssey, because we do have the Kirk, and the Kirk is about the same size. So if we have the Kirk, we could probably do with the Odyssey.
Let me say that again now.
We have the Kirk, and the Odyssey and the Kirk are the same size. So since we have the Kirk, we probably do it in the Odyssey, because the Odyssey is missed instead of Kirk.
Yeah, I think that but I almost can say the exact same thing, right? Without the exploration mechanic, the Odyssey is just another ship. You know, it doesn't do anything. You know, I mean, we've got plenty of ships that, like the Carrack, right? Who right now, I mean, look at all the potential of the Carrack. You've got drones, you've got a repair room, you've got cartography, you know, you've got all this stuff there, right? And
does it have a med bed? I forget.
Yes. It's got a medical, it's got a medical, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're just repeating the same thing with a different manufacturer. It you know, and not to mention that you mentioned it's not a small ship either. It's a pretty big ship. But I just see a repeat of what's in the game right now. And again, guys, we're just basing this upon, should it be in the game now, not later, not once things have progressed on, not once we get to power. I'm just saying, like, right now, unless there's a exploration mechanic that gets implemented, neither the Zeus or the Odyssey makes sense to me. Not right now, you know. But if they're going to introduce something with exploration, hecky yeah, you know, bring it on.
What do you feel about the Endeavor? Do you have one?
Oh yeah. You do? Yeah. Do I have one or two? I can't remember. I can't remember.
It's a great price for a big ship. For $250 US. It's a great price.
Yeah, the Endeavor. Again, you said it already. It's the things that it does do that are in the game. Other ships do, and the things that it doesn't do, you know, those mechanics aren't in the game. So, you know, flying it around without the modules is just going to be like, okay, you know. And the modularity aspect, which we'll talk about later. That's why I don't want to talk too much about the Endeavor. But it's just it's just too soon. It's just too soon. So that's what we're going to say about that. So that's exploration, gang. Let's move on. Big list. Military. This one's on me. Anvil Legionnaire. We don't have the docking mechanic yet and the hacking mechanic yet. It would be cool to have it to move people around. But we can move people around in other ships. You can use a freaking Cuddy Black, you know, if you want to storm somebody's ship right now. But we really need the hacking mechanic and the docking mechanic. And until that's in, the Legionnaire is very cool. But no, I'm going to say no to that. You got any thoughts on the Legionnaire?
I agree with you. I mean, it'll be a cool ship. Yeah, we can do without it for now.
Okay. Perseus. RSI Perseus. Smaller version of the Polaris, bigger version than the Galaxy. We really don't have to. If it was in the verse right now, I wouldn't be mad about it. It's a smaller ship. I wouldn't be mad about it. Do we need it in the verse? No, because there's nothing, you know, unless other ships like the Idris and the other ships are in there to give it some competition. It's just going to be a big monster that's very fast, but I don't know. It you know, will people take it out to see it as an opportunity like the Idris and go out and have battles with it? Yeah, but I'd want to make sure the features are in it. Maybe let's say that. Let me say that, fastcart. If it's functioning,
Yeah, that makes sense.
if it's functioning, I could deal with the Perseus being in the verse. But that's me. I don't know. What do you think, Perseus?
Too big. I just have already filled the role.
Okay.
And I don't think it needs to be in the game right now. In
Okay.
the future, sure, but not right
Not
now.
right now. Okay. Polaris, I know y'all want it. No. Until we get more space. Until we get more space in the space, no. It is. I know there are people who want to see these battles going on between those ships, but y'all listen. They'll tell you, oh, you know, you need to have a crew of 4 to 8 people, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. It could be in the game, but there are some, my waivers are things like this. I want to see server capacity increased, right?
Mhm.
You know, I want to see the engineering mechanic implemented. You know, I don't want it to just be about there's a guns here and you can just shoot at people. I want that thing to be catching fire. I want people to be able to go back and pull components out and replacing them. You know, I want all that stuff to be in there. That when a ship like a Polaris or a Perseus are in the game, that's meaningful to me. If it's just about riding around and pointing and shooting guns, that's just a percentage of what gameplay is for ships like that. And I just want to see a little bit more.
For me, for the Polaris, in order to not be a hypocrite, I'm gonna have to say yes. Put in the game now. That would mean my investment will be in the game that much sooner.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just to not be a hypocrite. So yeah, people have been waiting for the Polaris almost as long as I've been waiting for the Merchantman. So yeah.
And mind you, that is one of the older ships. I think other than the Idris and the Merchantman, that would probably be the third longest wait for a ship now. I think the Polaris is, yeah.
And the hull, but yeah.
Yeah, the hulls, yeah. Nautilus, no. And I own one, no. There's the idea of the strategy of using a Nautilus is not, even if you had one, it's just not there yet. It's not there yet. I feel good. Wow, Jolly Green Giant, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Thank you for the 5 community gift subs. Socially confused. I'm sorry, I missed you earlier. Thank you. The 100 space bucks. You are awesome. You got that's great. Thank you. The Nautilus. You know, I'm not sure which ship CIG is going to use to implement the tier 0 of drones, right? And that's what this ship is. It's a drone ship, right? Other than the big size 7 guns on the front, it's a drone ship. And so if they decide to put this ship out there to be the first place to start with drones, where they could start with smaller ships like we talked about the Vulcan earlier, or even the Carrack, which already has a drone base, right?
Had a drone too,
yeah, they could start with those ships and not have to worry about introducing the Nautilus until they've got the whole drone thing refined. So I don't see the need for it in the game right now. I see the need for it when the game is much further along, but just not right now.
It feels to me like the Nautilus will come out just before the Endeavor comes out. Gameplay wise.
Yeah.
And thank you for the follow-up. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, Jalen Clay, thank you. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Yeah, but anyway, I love the idea of the Nautilus, but no. Let's talk about this one, fastcart. This is the one we opened this show with today. We looked at some great detail, and people did the dynamic event a couple weeks ago and have had an opportunity to, some people have a chance to see videos or walk on this ship, the Idris, which is, as you mentioned, one of the older ships that people have been waiting for quite a while. We saw the Idris back in 2015 or 16 when it did that flyover. Was it 13? When it did the flyover?
I know, but the flyover, no, something different.
Yeah.
Talking about something different.
Yeah, when we saw the flyover over Port Olisar back in the day, and everybody went crazy. Nobody was expecting to see it, and this thing just kind of cruised over the station, and folks went nuts. And then we didn't see it again for like 2 or 3 years. I think maybe they only had the bottom of the ship made. You know what I mean? Just see the bottom. Nothing else.
Then we had that 1 year at IAE. We had it. Inside the hangar.
Yes.
And I think that was just the hollow ship.
Yeah, and it wasn't in the hangar, y'all. It was in the freaking convention center. This thing was
right.
For those of you who were back then, you remember this thing was huge. It was so big.
I mean, it was like if you put your character right beside the landing platform, the top of the landing gear was over your head.
Mm-hmm. Way over your head. Mm-hmm. I know people want this ship. I know they do.
Right.
I don't want to break y'all hearts, but hard no. The Idris, if I'm remembering correctly on his stats, says that a crew of minimum 8, maximum of 28, something like that.
That minimum.
Don't get me wrong. It would be cool to see it flying around in the verse. It's cool to go out there and fight against it right now. I know people would find a way to have Idris battles, one Idris against the other, and it sounds really great. I get it. But I think after a while, unless you have something that's structured for like orgs, you know what I mean? Where you can start creating, fighting over something, not just fighting, but fighting over something, let's say, for example, Jump Town, right? And you get Idrises who come in and they're the ones actually doing cover from above, right? And you've got these Idrises battling it out. You've got fighters coming out of them. I can see some cool stuff happening, right? But I can also see that those 2 Idrises are going to freaking use up over half the server right off the bat, right? And so if you put 20 people on each Idris, that's 40. Plus if you got 2 or 3 fighters, plus, it's too many people in a 100 server, count server. Now, mind you, if the servers blow up, y'all, 400 people, 500 people, 800 people, 1,000 people in a server, then I think that could introduce something like the Idris in. But we all know what would happen if one person spawns an Idris, somebody else is going to spawn an Idris, and you just know what's going to happen. But that's my opinion on that for the Idris M and the Idris P. What do you think, fastcart?
I couldn't agree more. You said it very eloquently. Not now, not in 322. No, not for the Idris. I'm happy for people who do have one. Got to do participate in the dynamic event. So that, I mean, I don't know how many people melted the Idris when after they saw it.
Yeah.
Because they said, okay, this thing's too big and I don't have the org. So yeah, maybe I could get something smaller. But yeah, for now. Even though it's like, this one, they had the Idris P from 2013. You could buy the Idris P. So, yeah, I know I said the same thing about the Polaris. It's one of the oldest ships people been waiting for, but I can see use for the Polaris now. I can't see the use for the Idris other than, machinima. Great machinima for the Idris.
Yeah.
Other than that, nothing.
I have to appreciate Debris Field's comment. Debris Field said there'll be 10 Idrises, but they'll each have only 2 players inside flying them. So that probably is what people would do. I hate to say they probably would. Everybody's be trying to nail everybody with their railgun, But anyway, I can't wait to watch. I swear, guys, some of the funniest stuff will be going on somebody's Idris and watching people try to land inside the Idris. I swear there's going to be a lot of fire crews. There's going to be a lot of fire crews coming out and putting out people's ships, because some of you jokers, I can tell you now, you're going to fly into that hangar and tear it up when you come in. So,
oh, I got one for you, Griffin. Trying to land the Shulin inside the Idris.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. I agree with you there. I agree. Drake Kraken. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. The Kraken, beautiful ship. I don't want one because I look at it and all I see is work. But it is a really, really cool ship. And I'm not a Drake fan, y'all. Y'all know I'm not a Drake fan. But nope. Too big. Requires too much. Very cool to see, but not until we get more space. And I mean, literally, we need more space for ships like Krakens because of what they're supposed to do. They're very demanding ships. I think they're great for orgs and great for organizations. People need to be able to get on a Kraken and go to sleep and wake up on that ship. Logging in and out needs to be a factor. You can't be just taking these ships and then, I just can't even imagine the whole idea. I'm trying to think of which ship is a kick in the head. For those of you who fly 890s and reclaimers, even Carracks to a certain degree, you guys know what it's like fuel consumption wise and what it takes to land at landing zones. Man, can you imagine landing a freaking Kraken somewhere? You know, if you can't log out in space, if you can't log out in space,
not a planet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you can't log out in space, imagine what it will be like trying to land that monster. I mean, it is no joke. You know, execute. Don't start with me with that origin stuff. I see what you said. But yeah, I think it's just too much. What about you, the Kraken? Pretty much. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, whatever I said about the privateer, I didn't use my standard line.
Mm-hmm.
I compared the merchantman and the privateer. The privateer is like 4 times the price of a merchantman at that time, so it was too expensive and too big. Same thing for this one. It's nice concept. But it's an org ship, and I don't see myself getting the crew together for Kraken. Plus, it's Drake, so it had that going against it. I'm not a fan of Drake. A whole bunch of stuff against the Kraken for me, unfortunately.
That's funny. It's Drake's. You're not happy about Drake. I'm not a big Drake fan, but I can appreciate this ship. I really can. I mean,
the Cutter is probably my favorite Drake ship.
Yeah. Okay. All right, last but not least, the Javelin, Idis Javelin. Yeah, no, hard no, hard no.
Whatever we said about the Idris goes double for the Javelin.
Yeah,
literally.
hard no. Now there has been talk that CIG is looking at. I don't know if this is official or unofficial. Maybe somebody in chat can tell us. There was talk about reducing the requirement size for crew because this ship originally went up to 80 people for crewing it. It is a monster of a ship. And if a Idris is supposed to be 8 to 28, I mean, even if this was like 12 to 48, you know what I mean, or 60, that's still a lot of players in this. And for those of you who got a chance to take the Javelin tour, if you have not done it, when we get to Invictus this year in May, make sure you do the Javelin tour. There may be an Idris tour too, and that'd be great if they do because it'll be an opportunity to see that ship. But if you guys haven't done the Javelin tour, when we do the Javelin tour, you only tour a portion of this ship, just a small portion of it, and you get lost just walking around that. Javelin's just big. That's all I can say about it. Javelin is just big, and I think it's too soon.
Enough said. I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah, it's a monster. Okay, let's continue on. Let's see what we got here. Oh,
I get this one.
Our subject, yeah. Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, modularity. You got the Retaliator, the Galaxy, and the Endeavor. The Retaliator, that's already, we have the Bomber currently in game, but we talk about the base they're supposed to have different modules. I even forget what the modules are.
There's five altogether. There's a cargo variant, which is if that's what you pay like 150 for. It's the cargo. And it's the front and the back areas are cargo. Then there is the bomber variant, which we have, like you said, in the game now.
Yeah.
There is a transport variant that has like a living quarters in the front. And then there is a dropship variant that they also have, where the rear part is set up for a dropship, and it's all modular. You can move all these things around however you want to. Now, the Retaliator was supposed to be the first sample ship, even though we heard about modularity fastcart back when the Caterpillar came out, right? They were talking about modularity back then.
Yeah.
But they decided but they decided to work on the Retaliator. Now there's two different types of modularity in the game to me, y'all, so please bear with me. This is just my definition. There are ships that literally change their design form, like the Endeavor, like fastcart mentioned. To me, yes, those are modules, but it literally physically changes. Then there are the ships that only the interior changes, but from the exterior, they look the same. And so the Retaliator and the Galaxy, for me, fall into those classes. Now, the Galaxy may end up having a different look. It does have a little bit of a different exterior, based on the models. But you get my general. In other words, there's not this huge form change. The freaking Endeavor has a freaking big antenna on top of it at one time. Another time it's got freaking
a circle going around.
Right, or it's got or it's got gardens on the side. I mean, this thing physically changes its dynamic.
Botanical.
But yeah, so the These ships, though, are ships that we've been looking forward to. The only one, though, there's only one here that we're not looking forward to seeing soon, and that would be the Endeavor. That one is the one that most people believe will be later, and not because of the design of the ship, but again, this ship's purpose kind of touches on so many aspects of what the game is supposed to provide. There's science, there's agriculture, there's exploration, there's what's the thing called with the collider? You've got the telescope
modification.
Yeah, you've got a hospital, you've got a hangar. I mean, there's all these things, and it seems like that would be a culmination of all these different things that are in the game being put in, available to this one ship. Not put in this one ship, but available to this one ship. And so that's one of the reasons why you hear people say the Myst Endeavor will probably be one of the last things that comes out.
And then, I mean, you have the science gameplay and research gameplay. That'll be part of crafting, and that's another reason why people say it'll be one of the last things you have to put in the game, because you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But for Retaliator, did you mention the personnel module for the Retaliator? Or
I said the living quarters. There's a living quarters area.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing about the Endeavor before we come back to the Galaxy, the Endeavor's a monster too. It's a big ship with its modules. It can be very, very big and takes up a lot of space.
Even without the modules, it's like
it's still big. Yeah, it's still a decent sized ship. Yeah, it's a big ship. So we're going to X the Endeavor off for any time soon. We already talked about the Retaliator. We know CIG's been working on that for modularity. They want to introduce that as their first step toward that. They've been reworking it. They've widened the hallways on it so that they can have two people walking down the halls, because as you guys know, the current Retaliator, very narrow halls when you walk through them. They've also changed it and put a docking collar on one side where one of the lifts are. There's now a docking collar there. So they've been doing work on that. Now let's talk about the Galaxy, though, because the Galaxy does fall in line with their recent work with the RSI ships, the Polaris, the Perseus, and the Galaxy. It is in those list of ships that they said that they want to be able to push out. Let me ask you, fastcart. Even though we don't have a time, we know that they, in the last, what do they call it? Monthly report, I think it was, they talked about the work on the Retaliator. They've talked about the Galaxy a little bit. Do you think that the Galaxy is going to be something that we get by the time we go into Pyro at some point? Or do you think that it will be a much later kind of release?
I don't think it'll be much later, but I'm definitely not a Pyro, in my opinion. I don't think it'll be out by Pyro, but later than Pyro. I don't know about that, though.
Okay.
That's my opinion. That's my guess.
Okay.
That's my feeling. Yeah. That I get. But the Galaxy, it's a nice ship. I mean, I love the look of it. It had that Star Destroyer feel. So if people want to get their Star Wars vibe going on, the Galaxy is great. But and it had different purposes. So I can see that being a mainstay for many org or many friends. So definitely not solo player though.
Okay, I would say. Remember earlier we talked about the Polaris and the Perseus, and I was kind of hesitant on both of those being in the verse. I would swallow the Galaxy being in better, because if they're able to get it in and introduce the modularity, which is, I think the modules were cargo, medical, and mining, right? And we've got mining in the game, we've got medical in the game. In cargo we have in the game. So if they
also go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say also this would be a great tip to introduce the Pioneer thing, the base builder for.
Well,
that's one of the
but I think
for the Galaxy
they could, but that's something we don't have yet. And I'm saying right now we have cargo, we have medical, we have refining, right? So, or mining, or refining. So I'm saying because those are already there, the mechanics, I'm saying I could see this one coming in a little bit better than the Perseus or the Polaris. Plus it's smaller, Now I know there'd be some people who wouldn't be happy about it because the Galaxy's not really designed for fighting, right? So they'd lose that battle side with the Perseus and the Polaris if they put the Galaxy in. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the
really
other.
Happy with the Galaxy. Certain Mexican TV channel that introduced it during the
Oh God! Don't start that.
They'd love to have the Galaxy.
Don't start that. Yeah. Okay, so those are that. So we're gonna give a vote. What do you want to vote? Yes for the Retaliator with modules, or the Galaxy?
I'll say yes for the Retaliator.
Okay, the Retaliator.
For that one, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What about the Galaxy in the verse right now? Yay or nay?
The current day, I have to say, I'm leaning toward no, but I could go yes either way.
I'm going to lean. I'm going to like
no.
you. I'm leaning toward no too. And of course, we both said no to the Endeavor. So that's where we're going to be on those. Okay. All righty. Let's hit one more here. One of our favorite subjects here. Ground vehicles. There are not a lot of ground vehicles that are out there, even though. Let me say that the right way. There are a lot of ground vehicles out there, but not a lot that we're waiting on. You know, I don't want to get my buddy Togi all worked up. There are a lot of ground vehicles in the game, and many of them, mind you, their features are not locked into them, but at least they are in the game. Whether you want to talk about a Lynx, a Ursa, the Tumbrils, we've got a lot of vehicles out there, not to mention the bikes and stuff. But here we've got the Origin series and we've got the Tumbril series. I'm going to talk about the Origin because I know you're interested in the Ranger, so I'll talk about the G12.
Right.
A lot of people are looking for the G12 who are Origin owners because the G12 comes with a couple of the ships. And the reason why, honestly, it's not about Origin. The reason why I want the G12 in the game is because the one thing I don't like about the Tumbril four-wheel vehicles is that they're exposed to the atmosphere. Heat, temperature, oxygen, all those things can affect you, where the Origins are enclosed. That's probably the one thing that I like about them. I like the aesthetic of them. I know some people don't like the aesthetic, but actually it has more to do with if I'm doing exploration, I'm out on a planet, I want the safety of knowing that if my oxygen is short or whatever, I can be inside of that vehicle, not have to worry about a helmet and all that other stuff if I just want to drive around somewhere. And there are 3 variants of that. There's a racer, there's a combat, it's not combat, but it's a military version. And then there's like a regular civilian version of it. Let's talk about that one. Anything you got to say about the G12, and then we'll talk about the Rangers?
I'm just curious. Now that the X1 is out, the X1 came out recently. Would you rather have the G12 come out before the X1?
No, because
what we had about the X1 now.
The only reason, I like the X1. The only reason why, I like the X1. I wanted the X1 to come out more to round out the bikes manufacture-wise. Because all we had was the Drake and we had the Nox, and then CO, Consolidated had put out theirs. But I wanted one.
Dragon,
but I wanted one more. And so I was more happy about it being in the game because it balanced out the rest of the bikes that we've been waiting on for a while. As far as the hover bikes, I should say.
Yeah. My complaint about the G12 is that yes, it looks futuristic, but I'm not really pleased with the aesthetic of the vision of the futuristic that they have for the G12. I mean, I'm all for a ground vehicle. I mean, I love the R-Type Lynx, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That one's perfect. But the G12 doesn't really do it for me. But that's a personal thing.
Let me ask you a question. Are you saying you don't like the version they released, or are you saying you don't like you like the concept version, but you don't like what they released, or you don't like even the concept of it?
I don't like the concept version of the G12, what I saw.
Okay. Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, that's interesting. So you've never liked the X1's design?
No, I'm talking about the G12.
Oh, I'm sorry, G12. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah, G12.
So you don't like the design of it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the X1 is fine. For me.
Okay. I don't know why I kept thinking X1. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do something here. My brain was fried.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the Tumbril Ranger.
Okay. So you want me to take it?
Yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, okay. Tumbril Ranger. Anyone wants to get their Akira on? This is the vehicle for you. It's a 2-wheeled motorcycle analogy, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But, to come in the racer, come into combat with, only had one gun on it. And it had the cargo variant, which only had 0.375 SCU. So those are the Tumbril. But, people who want their ride in the open road with the wind blow through their hair, this is the vehicle for you. I'm looking forward to it. It will be slower than the Grappler version, but you'll be able to have the ground underneath you as the road go by. So yeah, Tumbril Ranger, I'm looking forward to it. I have the 3-pack version of this one.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Is the Tumbril Ranger okay? Are you saying it should be in the game now, or we should wait?
It could be because we already have the other vehicles with wheels on them. So yeah, it could be in the game.
Okay. Okay. I could see technically, you know, as far as design and stuff, that they could put it in the game. I'm still wrestling with what's the purpose. And
What's the purpose of the other one?
No, let me give you an example what I mean. From a rule of cool standpoint, I dig it, right? But like every time I see this bike, I just think of like Mad Max. I think of just something like that for some crazy reason. But I'm trying to rationalize. I'm trying to think about like the distribution centers, you know, things like that. Like when will we be on? And it doesn't have to be hard roadways, right? I mean, we were out just recently looking for like a river, and we saw something that looked like roads that were on Hurston. We had never seen this before, right? But they literally traversed like as if they were roads. I don't know if they did, but I'd never seen them before. I don't know if CIG's putting something in or whether we were seeing a graphical glitch. I don't know which one it was, but I was like, man, if these are roads out here, this is pretty cool. I know there will be opportunities and times where flying is not good, right? For whatever the reasons may be, weather, visibility, whatever the case may be. There's some reason why flying in some place is going to be hazardous. But I'm trying to think of why would I opt for a road bike versus a hover bike? I'm wrestling with that a little bit. So maybe somebody in chat's got a reason, but I don't know.
The only reason I can think of is like there may be EMP that can take out a hover quad where a real vehicle it makes it work. Even
mechanical reasons.
Technically, yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing. And I just got to give a shout out to SQ.
Yeah.
That should be origin tagline. What's the purpose?
Yeah. No, I get you, Matt Styles. Simply choice is there. Don't get me wrong. And I can understand the rule of cool dynamic of it. I'm just trying to figure, and maybe it is. Maybe it's just a matter of choice. You know, I feel more vulnerable. I'll be honest with you. I feel way more vulnerable on a bike because of bumps and a whole lot of stuff. Not that hover bikes are that much safer, mind you. But I don't know. A 4-wheel vehicle I'm okay with. Those bikes I'm just trying to. Maybe it's just because it's not my thing. I love bikes, but I don't know. In this game, I'm just wondering about them.
I'm going to turn a phrase real quick. Where we going, we do need roads.
Yeah. I don't know.
Back to the future.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I said. You get that Akira feel. I don't know if you're familiar with Akira, right?
Yeah.
The red motorcycle. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a whole lot of people's dream to live that.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Maybe some people will experience it for 5 minutes and they'll be done, and there may be other people who will go months and months because they love it.
Yeah. You know what? This is one of those things where I'm going to have to see it. You know what I mean? Because maybe once it's in the game and I try it out, it'll move from rule of cool to, oh, this is actually pretty practical. You know what I mean? I'm just looking for where that's going to be for me in the game. But I will say this, and I think Mad Style said something about the bikes being very big. I mean, being small.
Yeah,
but they're big. They're
like,
big.
You think like dragonfly size?
Yeah, they're big. They're not small bikes. They are pretty big. So I'm curious. Again, I don't mind the option side. You know, people. You know, you could have a lot of retro reasons why people will do stuff. And I mean, we've seen science fiction, and I got to stay within this concept of science fiction versus science fact. Okay, or science.
I got one for you.
Science fantasy.
Remember the Bat Pod from Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batman?
Nah. That ain't far enough in the future. That ain't far enough in the future. Okay. You know, I know we wrestle with this whole thing about future tech and where things should be, and I still deal with that. I wrestle with it too, because there's some things I see sometimes. It's like they wouldn't have that in the future. You know. So I wrestle with, you know, gameplay and design, you know, and that's just the way it is. You know, they're reaching out to people and what's going to and for me, who feels a bike like a Ranger is impractical, I don't have to ride it. You know what I mean? I've got my freaking something else I can ride, you know, and there are other people who they don't care about 900 years in the future. They want to get on the road and kick up some dust behind them, right? That's okay too, if that's what they want to do.
So,
you know.
So it's kind of funny how Griffin and I are on the opposite side. Like I love the on-site links, but I don't like the G12. I don't know how you feel about the on-site links, Griffin. But you don't like the Ranger, and I love the Ranger. But
I like
the X1.
I'm a little disappointed with the links. The Lynx looks like a cleaned up version of the Ursa rover. And I know the same manufacturer works on it, but I wanted a little bit more definitive design to it, where the G12, The G12 follows an origin design a little bit more, where the Lynx is RSI, and that's just it. It's RSI. Yeah. So it's supposed to be looking somewhat like a Ursa, just a nicer Ursa. You know what I mean? We're talking about freaking Toyota versus was it Lexus or Infiniti, whatever. You know what I mean? That's basically what it is. I love the interior of it. That's just me. Okay. But I was, but I had to keep it within the context of that it was RSI, right? It's not Origin. It's a RSI cleaned up version of an Ursa rover, and it's okay.
And like I said, I love the Phoenix, but and I'm about the $600, even though they're both luxury. But
yeah. But again, RSI versus Origin, right? And that's design language, so it makes sense. Okay. Alrighty then. Well, we have chopped through, believe it or not, everything. We've hit everything that quick.
And we got to give out our disclaimer. We didn't cover the Bengal because that's not player sellable.
Yeah.
And other stuff that may be on the horizon haven't been sold, so that's why we haven't covered them. And so we covered 36 today, even though they're close to like 40 that that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. We've been trying to keep up with what you guys are saying. You guys have been saying a whole lot in chat tonight. I've been trying to read it, and it's like, oh my God. You guys have said a whole lot of stuff. And some of the things, you may not agree with our things. We've tried to be objective about this because it'd be very easy for me to say, I want to see everything in the game. We've been waiting too long, and some ships we've been waiting a long time for. I mean, the whole D and E, I can't wait to see those things in the game. But the reality of it is that if I'm being objective about it and I talk about purpose, there are other ships I think that could be in the game that would lend more purpose to everybody's gameplay, not just my gameplay. So I can wait. Like you said, fastcart, there is a benefit to waiting. As the tech gets more refined, the ships get better, the design gets better. Ultimately, whenever we get our ships, we're usually a lot more happier because it's done the right way. Because I don't want to see no more reworks on stuff.
And before we take off do our thing, I do want to drop a link in chat real quick. This is a crib sheet or a clip note version of stuff that we talk about today. I like this graphic because it gives it detailed information, but it goes by year instead of categories. So I think that's a great graphic.
It is.
So check out that link.
It's a great tool. Thank you. Okay, well, we want to touch on one other thing before we go. One of the things we want to talk about is some of you guys know over this past week, we lost another great actor. Louis Gossett Jr. passed away. And for a lot of us who've been following movies for a long time, a lot of us are fastcart's a movie buff. I'm a movie buff. A lot of films, that he's been in. But one of the ones that we're not going to talk about tonight, but we will highlight to you, is a movie called Enemy Mine. If you've never got a chance to see it, into sci-fi, he and Dennis Quaid are in it. It's a very interesting take on science fiction. Now, this movie came out quite a while ago, so if you get the Blu-ray version, or remastered version, just because, man, this movie looks kind of cheap. If you look at it under the old VHS version, it'll look really good, right? Because unfortunately, whenever they clean up films, you see everything. But I was going to show some clips from it, but instead of showing clips from Enemy Mine, I really would rather show his background and his history. So very quickly, let's take a quick look at that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap up the show after this.
Hollywood tonight is mourning the death of Louis Gossett Jr., who died today at the age of 87. The beloved performer of screen and stage was the first black man to win an Oscar in a supporting role in 1983 for the movie An Officer and a Gentleman. CBS's Michelle Miller looks back on his legacy.
I don't believe what I'm seeing.
Louis Gossett Jr. pushed the boundaries of his craft beyond even his own expectations.
You better stop eyeballing me, boy.
As he described to us in a 2020 interview for Sunday Morning.
That's a miracle. That's a blessing.
Born in Brooklyn in 1936, Gossett got his first acting role at 17 on Broadway. By 22, he was working alongside legends Sidney Poitier and Ruby Dee in Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. Then Hollywood came calling.
We never relax.
In 1977, Gossett earned an Emmy playing Fiddler in Roots, the most watched miniseries in history at the time.
Did I say that? You did.
Folks thought he was the Uncle Tom of the series.
It was a mistake.
So a mistake. He's not an Uncle Tom?
No, there was no such thing as an Uncle Tom. Without that survival thing, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. You said you wanted to meet me in private?
But it was his riveting portrayal of a drill sergeant opposite Richard Gere in the film An Officer and a Gentleman that made him a superstar.
The winner is Lou Gossett Jr.
And the first black man to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Did you believe it?
No, I didn't. That's supposed to be possible. That's a piece of history.
He struggled with addiction and overcame it. He faced and fought racism.
We better take care of ourselves and one another better. We need each other quite desperately.
Urging us to do the same. Michelle Miller, CBS News, New York.
Alrighty. Well, rest in peace to Louis Gossett Jr. Fastcart, was there any movie in particular of his you really enjoyed?
Cut out. I have Fastcart.
Oh, I was asking, was there any film of his in particular that you kind of sticks out for you?
Well, not a film, but the last thing that I saw him in was Watchmen, the TV series.
Yes, he was in Watchmen.
He's excellent in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
check that out if you haven't seen him.
Yeah, I think
and
that
I was surprised to see him. I'm like, he's still working?
Yeah, I think that was in 2020 when he did that. It wasn't that long ago. And he got a great performance in that. In fact, I think he got nominated for an Emmy for that performance as well. So, yeah. Officer and a Gentleman, definitely a classic that he was in. But again, some of you guys have seen that. But Iron Eagle, yes, tactical,
yeah,
absolutely. Iron Eagle, yeah. A lot of good stuff. But anyway, if you haven't seen Enemy Mine, check it out. Great science fiction, great film to see. Very good stuff. So rest in peace, Louis Gossett Jr. Okay, let's talk about what we got coming up this week.
Thursday, we have Soul Talk. We talk Third Citizen Women's Community. We cover SEO. There wasn't one this past Friday, but we cover ISD. And this week in Third Citizen. So come in and chat with us and give us your thought about what's going on in Third Citizen that week. That is Soul Talk, 9 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UTC.
Awesome sauce. And on Saturday, we do Soul Voices. I think we're doing Soul Voices next week. I got to think about that. Yeah. We're going to be doing Soul Voices. That's our one-on-one conversation with folks from the community where we share conversations about things that are on Spectrum and Reddit and the gaming industry, or just stuff that pops in my head that I think is interesting to the community. So that's going to be on Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And hopefully you guys can join us and come in and share your thoughts. Because on both of these shows, we love hearing from you. This show that we do on Sunday is you guys hearing us. But on Thursdays and Saturdays, we want to hear from you. So don't hesitate to join us. Don't hesitate to jump into the chats and hang out with us. We really, really do appreciate it when you guys come in and share your thoughts with us. So don't be scared. Don't be scared. Okay. Next week, we are going to be kicking off next week is our 199th? 199th? 198.
199. 199.
Okay. Next week will be our 199th show. Our Sunday show. You know, we've got a lot of the other shows too, but this is the longest running one. So it will be 199 shows. And the week after that will be our 200th. And we're going to be kicking off the month of April with our show called What's Wrong with Luxury? Okay. And we're going to be talking about
so many things.
Yeah, I know. Yes, so many things wrong with luxury. This luxury is just wrong. It's just wrong. We're going to be talking about, you know, people's feelings about this idea of luxury. You know, we can say transportation, but we do often say luxury. And, you know, we're going to be talking about people's feelings about what does it mean and what does luxury look like possibly in Star Citizen. But those of you who are into luxury, we're going to be talking about what's wrong with the luxury ships. What would you like to see different in them, or what would you like to see changed in them, or what would you like to see modified in them? What is CIG missing out on some of the ships like the Phoenix or the 890 or the 600 series? We want to hear from you guys to talk about that next week. So that's going to be next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, which you guys know is our new time. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that.
Execute, if you're available, we'd love to have you.
Oh God, yeah, he'll give us that's all he'll talk about is what's wrong with luxury. So
exactly. That's
we're gonna be nope. Anyway, we are going to be doing that on next week. So hopefully you guys once again can join us for that. Other than that, I want to say I think that's about it, Fastcart. Did I miss anything?
Nope, but that's it.
Thank
you all for joining us, and I hope you had fun.
Yeah, we are going to. I'm trying to find somebody to raid. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was looking at. Okay, we're on the same page then. All right, we are going to set you guys up with TV Liquid. You guys know TV, good friend of ours. We always trade raids. Almost every other week, one of us outbeats the other one with getting a raid out. So when you guys get over there with TV Liquid, make sure you guys let them know that you came over from the Soul Citizens. Special thank you to everybody who was here today. Was that AC 625? Thank you for the follow. We missed that. And Devastate 3 or Devastator. Devastate.
Yeah, we did
thank you for the follow as well. Bretley, thank you for the resub. Jay and Clay, thank you for the follow. Thank you again for all the bits and the subs, everything that you guys did today, all the comments and the ratings that you guys gave. We really appreciate it as always. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Tell people about the Soul Citizens. And don't forget, in 2 weeks, join us for our 200th episode. We're going to have a great time then. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys then. Until later, Fastcart, thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate you. Are you doing any shows coming up?
Not till mid-April.
Okay, April. All right,
mid-April.
All right, so we'll announce it probably within the next week or two then. All right, cool. All right, gang, take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Love you. Peace, love, and soul. We'll see you soon. Ciao.